Well, hello, and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are here with Joe Barb, Executive Director of the LGBTQ Plus Family Connections Center. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. What's interesting is that is where you are. You're in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is not a place that we normally see come up on the radar when it comes to LGBTQ initiatives.
Exactly, and that's part of why we're doing what we're doing is because the rural America, when you look at it statistically, same percentage of LGBTQ plus adults, approximately 4.5%,
Yeah.
and same percentage for youth, approximately 10% of the youth identify as LGBTQ plus.
Yeah. And so you guys are developing something. It's not there yet, but it's a project. It's a program that's you've got all the pieces in place, and it's going to launch towards the end of this year. And really, also something very dedicated to, as you were saying, youth and homelessness going on there in your area.
Yeah, so part of our discovery was that not only were there, was there a large LGBTQ community, there was also still the same needs that we have in metro areas, the homelessness. Unfortunately, children are thrown out every day for being LGBTQ plus. They experience homelessness that goes from anything from couch surfing to living in cars to, you know, just nothing. And part of that through developing our program was we initially looked at just counseling, and then we looked at how great the need was for housing and thought that's got to be a solution we have to solve.
Yeah.
So in doing that, we thought, how do we overcome these obstacles of distance, of stigma, of shame, of all the things that happen in rural America? And we thought, let's be a destination center. We were looking at a lodge, and the lodge had 10 cabins, full amenity with kitchens and furnishings and beautiful. And I thought people can come stay with us if they're seeking counseling. And they can also utilize that space for emergency housing in the sense that if they are homeless, we have somewhere to put them.
Yeah, yeah. But I think what's interesting, I have a feeling that like 10 years from now, as we look back in history and look back at this time, um, because there's so much has changed ever since the pandemic when it comes to communities, not in South Dakota, but like Boise, Idaho, and Bend, Oregon. That there's all these stories being written about how so many people have escaped there for during the pandemic, and they've decided to stay, which has made real estate go crazy. And but it seems that I think it's also happening or going to happen in Rapid City as well.
I think for an adult, it's a great place. Like I lived literally right next to Mount Rushmore. I was a single parent from birth to the age of 8 before I married my husband. And it was like my own private Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
No kidding. Like, the friends in the community there were amazing. That, Friday night, and of course, my friends there were all different persuasions, straight, gay. There's a little bit of everything. And it was, Friday night, it's, hey, you need a break. We're going to take the baby and you're going to go grocery shopping. You're going to go have coffee. You're going to go do whatever you like. And it was amazing to me. And I lived very much as an out person in South Dakota. I was out at work. I was out in my personal life. Never experienced any difficulty or really any discriminatory efforts on anybody's part. I think most of the discrimination for LGBTQ plus youth still comes from home.
Yeah, yeah. And that's and I think that also came out a lot over the last year where, because a lot of kids and just young adults were stuck at home and had to almost in some ways relive a lot of the things they were trying to escape in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. Up until COVID, you could confide in a friend, you could leave the house and openly discuss your life with your friend, and you had that sense of community. And then all of a sudden, you're 16, you're trapped in the house with mom and dad who don't support, who you are as a person, and it becomes a prison. For COVID was very challenging for a lot of LGBTQ plus youth.
Yeah, no, I think more and more stories I'm reading are coming out about that. And but now that Pride and things are kind of coming back, but you guys were just there at Pride. There's a Pride festival in your area as well, yeah?
Yeah, Center for Equality has done Pride for several years. They did a great job. I was kind of amazed. It was my first time as a 51-year-old man attending any Pride.
Wow.
I thought in my life before, I always thought I live Pride every day. I live as an out person. I'm fortunate that I can. But I was shocked at the number of families that were supporting, their youth. I'd see a 12-year-old with mom and dad, and they're just trying to let them realize that there is a community. They're okay. They're just as happy as everybody else. Let's introduce you to these people. Let's talk, to others. At the same token, we had one church that brought a cross, and they were picketing, basically, this is bad, this is terrible. Then on the other hand, I look down and there's three other churches there that are affirming, and they're giving hugs to kids and they're talking to them. And one of the churches came running over to me and she said, "We don't have a dad. We need a dad hug." So I went over and met with the kids, and one of them told me her story. 19, she's getting ready to go back to college. She was thrown out of the house at 17. Her mother died of breast cancer. Dad didn't tolerate that she was a lesbian, and she had to figure out how to feed herself, how to go to high school, how to keep going every day. And it's ridiculous. There has to be resources. I literally was in tears talking to this young lady, trying to hold back because it was about her, not me. But in the same token, it was about me. We've all experienced those obstacles.
It sounds like you were able to get some really good positive feedback from the folks attending there as far as what you're working on.
Absolutely. Everywhere we go, this is so needed. This is so welcomed. And that's kind of, it's a deeply red state. So a lot of people think from a political standpoint that the people have the same philosophies and principles as elected officials. It's not always the case because, as I said, I was openly gay there, never had any problems. And there's a very progressive part of that red state that's live and let live, and you should have the same rights as everyone else.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. that gives us hope.
Absolutely. And, and I couldn't imagine in the last year with all of the legislation, and more than last year, but especially the last year, all of the legislation, all of the just hateful rhetoric towards LGBTQ plus youth, especially the trans community. What a terrible time to live and be a youth. Before they were at least attacking adults, now we're going after kids.
Yeah, no, it's it's that whole 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so I'm an optimist. So I'm hopeful that we're going to continue to move forward. So regardless of what we see on TV.
The good part about all of the terrible legislation is it brings to light just how much people will go out of their way to hate. And that makes the people that love even more loving.
It's true, because and also you can't fix it until you can see it. And so when it's invisible, or people are feeling and voting and pushing in this direction, but you don't know what it looks like, then you can't really do much about it. So that's the positive silver lining in some of the negativity, is at least we know what it looks like and we can deal with it head on.
Exactly. And it taught us a lot. It taught us a lot about rural America, what it's like to be LGBTQ plus there. And then in designing our programs and services, it taught us that, sometimes you can't drive into a place with a rainbow flag. You have to be able to go somewhere outside of your community. And that's why we're focused on South Dakota, but we're also looking at the bordering states, Nebraska, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and helping those youth and those families out as well.
Yeah. And lastly, there's a connection with Pat Benatar, yes?
Pat Benatar is amazing. Pat and Neil, I reached out to, I was listening to one of their songs, Hell is for Children.
Yeah.
Lyrically, the song just struck me. I have no idea why, but at that very moment, I'm like, I'm going to find out who her manager is. I'm going to reach out to him. Yeah. I did that. Pat responded not only positively, she said, how can I help your efforts? She is going to make a special video concert for us to use with the nonprofit. She sends me messages encouraging what we're doing. Come to find out, in doing the research, Pat's brother Andy was part of the LGBTQ plus community and lost his life tragically. And she is an extremely big, huge supporter.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I grew up with Pat Benatar, and I remember the video for Hell is for Children, and just all that comes back to life. But I don't think anybody knew that.
Yeah, it's just, she's made a couple of public statements, through campaigns and things like that. But what I like about her is that she's just a normal person, and she's just a normal supporter like everybody else. She, again, to get messages from her like, hey, I was, seeing this or reading that, or the information you sent me, I really love it. It means everything.
I'm looking forward to seeing all this come together, and so I'm excited. I've enjoyed, especially with your social media posts. It's you're doing a great job of letting us know what's going on, and I look forward to seeing how this comes together this year.
I appreciate it. We're really excited. It's one of those things that, we were talking about privately is everybody thinks there's tons of federal money, state grants. This is one of those projects with all nonprofits. It takes community support. Those type of grants and funding, they come later and they take years of work, sometimes 3 to 5 years before you see those programs. So it's definitely a community support initiative that we're hoping the community follows.
Well, we're going to make sure all the links are there to not only your website and social media, but also for the fundraising side as well. So let's put a lot of positive thoughts and vibes out there for all this to move forward.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys have been amazing, and it's been so good to talk to you today.
Same here. Well, I look forward to connecting in the real world, and thanks so much for being here with us.
I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Doug.
So good.